what do most advisors do? They decide they want downtime or vacation when they're burnt out. They've gone through it, right? In other words, oh man, I got to get some downtime here, or even better, hey, once I get caught up, I'll take some downtime. Never happens, right? So you have to have, this is going to sound weird, but you have to have discipline to take your renewal vacation time. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Welcome to June 2023, as I'm recording this from my home office here in Melbourne, Florida. And since Memorial Day has now come and gone, I thought this would be a great opportunity to spend a few minutes talking to you guys about how I help my coaching clients organize their year when it comes to calendaring, right? And kind of how to look at things, okay? So for our game, for those of you who are Magellan Network members, you know that we are now in what we call period number 2. And so what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about period 1, period 2, and period 3. The differentials, and in our experience, in my experience, why this is a superior way to really kind of run your year than having 12 months of kind of sameness, right? Which I think, number one, it gets boring. Number two, there's not really a focus on things. So let me kind of walk you through the 3 periods first, and then we're going to unpack each one and what are the uniquenesses inside of that, okay? So the way that I teach the calendar, again, we always work with a quarterly game plan, right? So again, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, right? So I want you to think about that, but then we're going to overlay, right? So think about it as 1 year, then there's 4 quarters, and then there are 3 periods over those 4 quarters. So let me give you kind of the calendar, right? So period number 1 is going to start January 1st or whatever your first official day of the new year is. And it is going to go until Memorial Day here in the United States. Okay, so whatever, the last Monday of May. That is going to be period number 1. Period number 2 is going to go from Memorial Day in the United States to Labor Day. So again, last Monday of May to, I do believe, it's the first Monday of September. And then you have period number 3, which will go from the Tuesday after Labor Day up until you call it a year. So whether you call it a year December 31st or December 15th or December 1st or December 23rd, whenever your last day is, that is the last day of that period. Now, why do we do this? I have found that most advisors look at a year and they look at, because again, you think about how you're brought up in the industry, right? Hey, monthly production, monthly goals. And so What most advisors do is look at a year and they say, okay, I got 12 months and I'm going to have what I call a rinse and repeat concept where each month's going to feel the same. It's going to kind of, January, no difference between January and August. And I think that's a mistake. So what we want to do in Q1 is we want to be very tactical. So from the beginning of the year, right, until Memorial Day, we're really focused on client reviews. So, and I don't want to unpack too much of this because it's a whole nother episode, but most of my clients will run a 12-2-6-1-4-1 cadence. So 12 being 12 contacts, 2 reviews a year, right? 6-1, every other month contact. And when I say contact, I don't mean like sending them a newsletter. I mean reaching out, email, bomb, phone call, video message, something like that, okay? So 6-1 would be every other month, and then annual review, and then 4-1 would be quarterly outreach, and then an annual review. So what we want to do in period 1, is we want to do, obviously, those clients that need 2 reviews a year. We want to do the first review in period number 1. And we're going to do the second review in period number 3, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Also, those clients that need an annual review, so just once a year, we want to put them in period number 1 because we've got January, February, March, April, and May. We've got 5 months in period number 1. So a bulk of our reviews for the year are going to be done in period number 1. Okay? That's what we're focused on. We're focused on that. We're focused on business development, right? New clients, optimization. We're doing things. What we don't want to be doing is taking on big strategic projects, right? Like rebranding, launching a new website, anything like that. You want to be very tactical this first go. Now, you're still taking your renewal weeks. We're still taking vacations. We're still doing all those things. But we're going to have a slant or a bias towards more tactical weeks, right? Tactical week basically is working in the business, right? So it's reviews and running the business, right? Strategic is working on the business. I'll explain that a little bit more for period number 2. And then renewal is being away from the business, right? Getting enough rest, recovery, downtime. And rest recovery is a big issue for most advisors. We've covered that in previous topics. So really from early January to basically Memorial Day, we're doing mostly reviews. And that's what we're going to do, right? We're not going to do we're not really focused on CE, other projects, things like that. Now, Memorial Day comes. Memorial Day goes. Now we're in period number 2. So period number 2, if you think about it, it's what? June, basically, July and August, 3 months. So we have 5 months, right, of period 1. We have 3 months of period number 2. So what are we doing inside of period number 2? You're going to have reviews from time to time. Situation changes with a client, right? Obviously, we're going to honor that. They have material change, they're retiring, got money, have an issue, whatever. Obviously, we're going to meet with them, right? So that's going to happen no matter what. But primarily, what we're going to be focused on in period 2, there's 2 things. We're going to look at period number 2 as a strategic window where we're going to knock off our big strategic projects. Now, what are some big strategic projects? Get all your CE done for the year, period number 2. If you're going to update your brand, relaunch your brand, update your website, anything like that, period 2 is a great time to do it, right? Any kind of segmentation projects, client segmentations you want to do, service models you want to do. Maybe you want to go get approved for discretionary. Whatever you need to do, right? Go get another license, maybe take on a course, do stuff like that. Period number 2 is when we're really primarily focused working on the business, on yourself, and getting what I call adequate rest and renewal time. For years, I fought this, by the way. I really said, hey, you know what? We're not. I always say, like, hey, we're not in Europe. We don't take the summers off and stuff like that. But in my experiences, I think especially since pandemic, I think it's okay to have a different cadence in period number 2. So it's not like you won't be seeing clients, and it won't be like, hey, we're always available for prospects and referrals and things like that. But we're really going to be focused on, again, working on the business. Maybe very directed outreach on our centers of influence, for example, right? It's a great time in the summer to break bread with your COIs, maybe take a road trip, see some of your clients who are maybe not local to you, right? Go press some flesh, shake some hands, take them out to lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever you have. It's do that. We're also going to be taking, in my mind, 4 to 6 weeks of renewal time, right? So what does that look like? Hi, Coach Joe Lukacs here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number 1, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. To me, definitely the end of June, beginning of July, especially July 4th weekend, you can definitely take 2 weeks there. And don't think of it like a mid-year break, okay? So halftime, right? Let's grab 2 weeks, 4th of July, end of June, and renewal time, all right? And then end of July, August normally has 5 weeks. The last week of August / first week of September, depending on where Labor Day falls, that's a dead zone. So you can definitely grab a week or 2 there. So I got 2 midpoint, right? So 2 in end of June, beginning of July. Grab 1 or 2 at the end of July, beginning of August. Grab at least 1 end of August, beginning of September. And that sets you up really well for period number 3. So period number 3, right, is right after Labor Day to whenever you consider the end of the year. So it's going to feel very much like period 1, except since we did all the annual reviews for the one-time-a-year clients, we're really focused on the reviews for our AAA clients, right? That second review we have to do. We're going to focus on that. We're going to have a heavy business development game, right? Because, again, we're kind of looking to bring in our year, right? The other major deliverable we're going to do an annual plan. We call it, in my world, we call it our annual Magellan Vision Plan, right? So we're going to be doing that end of November into December, updating our 10-year strategic plan, making sure we're locked down for the upcoming year. We're going to do that. And you're still going to take some renewal time. We all know that in the fall is conference season, right? So Schwab Impact, maybe your firm has conferences, stuff like that. So you may be going to some conferences there too, and that's fine. So if you think about it, what we have here is a beautiful 3-period cadence, right? Start off the year strong, right? Very tactical, hitting our deliverables, things like that. Summer cadence, right? A little bit of an off season, right? So not as many tactical weeks, working more on strategic projects, getting some rest and renewal time. Summer's a great time to be executing a bucket list trip, for example. For myself and my clients, we normally carve out 2 different kind of sabbatical windows, and I'll share them with you. So one of the sabbatical windows, so what's the sabbatical? It's 2+ weeks away. Okay, and we're not going to get into the rules. Well, am I talking to the office? Am I available for clients? I mean, teach their own. I've got clients. I'm probably one of these people too that even when I go on sabbatical, if I don't know what's going on, it stresses me out. So therefore, am I really resting? No. So it's okay to have a little window, and maybe I'll devote an episode to that at some point. But summer. So whether it's end of June, July, you can take 2 or 3 weeks there. Up to 4, end of July, beginning of August, which is what I tend to do. I'll take the last 2 weeks of July, first 2 weeks of August, put almost 4 weeks together, and that's one of my sabbatical windows, to do a bucket list trip with my family, right? I think this year we're going to go to Italy for 2.5 weeks, something my wife wants to do, right? Really cool. And then the second window you have is the holidays at the end of the year, right? So most of my clients, including myself, will kind of wrap it up around mid-December. I think this year it'll be like Friday the 15th, if I'm not mistaken, or Friday the 16th, whatever that looks like. And then I won't be back till probably the 9th or 10th of January, so I'll have 3.5 weeks. Again, you can do another trip in there, depending on what you want to do. And it's a beautiful way to not just build a business, but it's also a beautiful way to live a life where you really, and this is the key thing. We talk a lot, we hear a lot about, you want to have balance, personal, professional balance. And I find that to be, in some cases, misleading because when are you really, every day you're not going to sit there and say, okay, I've got 24 hours, so let me have 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of business, and then 8 hours of personal / family. That's like utopian balance, right? 7 days a week or 5 days a week on the weekends. It just doesn't work that way, at least in my experiences. So there are times when you want to go really hard, right? Those tactical windows. There are times you want to have more of a strategic pause. So period 1 is, like I said, we're very tactical, but we're still taking, even in that 5-month window, we should be having, 4 weeks, maybe up to 6 weeks of renewal time. So it's not like, oh man, I'm going to work for 5 weeks, 5 months straight. No. You're still taking your spring break. You're still doing the end of quarter stuff. You're still doing what you're doing, but you're not going to have in most cases, you're not going to have the 2 or 3 weeks in there unless you want to. And I guess that's the other part I want to mention here. These are guidelines. I mean, what are really the rules that you have? None. So if you want to say, hey, I'm a big skier and I want to take 2 or 3 weeks every January and February because I want to go travel the world and I want to ski the top 50 places around the world, then hey, that's your jam. Build your business around that. No problem. I got clients that surf. They build it around that. Not a problem, right? I've got clients that are trying to qualify for the Senior PGA Tour. Not a problem, right? We do what we need to do. The beauty of being a financial advisor is there are really no rules when it comes to the calendar. The limitations that I have found for advisors are the ones that they place on themselves. It's not their clients, it's not society, it's not the industry. It's self-imposed limitations that if you were to just kind of think outside the box, experiment a little bit, all right, you will find a tremendous, not just satisfaction, but tremendous joy in designing things. One of the key tools, and we'll probably talk about this on one of our future episodes, is we have something called a strategic calendar. Now, what a strategic calendar is not your red tail calendar. It is not your wealth box calendar. It is not, nothing like that. It is a dedicated calendar. I mean, it could be old school where you kind of get the year at a glance and put it up on the wall in your office. Whatever you want to do there is totally cool. But it delineates, hey, is this a tactical week? Is this a strategic week? Is this a renewal week? And you kind of take it out a year or two, right? And what happens, it just really helps you. That's how you create accountability inside of your game. What do most advisors do? They decide they want downtime or vacation when they're burnt out. They've gone through it, right? In other words, oh man, I got to get some downtime here, or even better, hey, once I get caught up, I'll take some downtime. Never happens, right? So you have to have, this is going to sound weird, but you have to have discipline to take your renewal and vacation time. And to me, there's not again, now if you're an advisor under 5 years in the game, so I will say this, there's probably a different set of rules there because you're building your game, okay? Now, does that mean you take no vacation? No. It just means that probably 12 to 16 weeks is probably not, would not recommend that the first 5 years. Do I recommend 4 to 6? Yeah, okay? But if you're kind of already rocking and rolling and you look at what you need to do, right? There's not an advisor, and I say this, and I'm happy to be challenged on this. There's not an advisor I can't find 12 to 16 weeks of vacation every year for. Now, why do I say that? Because in my experiences, when you do take vacation, a vacation week, isn't it shocking how you get a month's worth of productivity done in 3 weeks, right? So most advisors, when I say most, probably 95%, 99%, there is a lot of fat in your day. There's a lot of fat in your week of just unfocused distraction, things like that. So what happens with most human beings when they know they're going to be taking some downtime, your brain goes, it tries to solve a problem. What's the problem? I've got to get 4 weeks productivity done in 3 weeks. How do I do that? And your brain goes, well, let's not screw around, right? Let's not get distracted. Let's get focused. And shockingly, in a vast majority of cases, you will do a month's worth of productivity in 3 weeks. So my point is, why not just live that way? Like, why not just say, hey, you know what? I'm a rock star for 3 weeks, take the 4th week off. And then there's 4 months a year. That'll be 12, right? And then there's four months a year that you almost have that 5th week in there. And I think they're typically March, June, August, and I think maybe December. And it changes, depending on a calendar. But there's at least 4 every year that you can almost sneak the extra week in there. And so, I take 12 weeks and now I got 4, that's 16, right? That's 16 weeks of renewal time. And the rest of the weeks for the year, you divvy up between tactical and strategic, and you rock star your game. And literally, you can run that model for decades. And I've got clients who have run that model for decades very successfully, okay? So I just want to kind of plant some different concepts with you guys in this episode, since we're into now period number 2, the summer, if you will. And the only limitation that you have is really the limitation that you put on yourself. Because I'm telling you, my experiences, all things are possible. All things, okay? So, welcome to period number 2. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Please share this episode with your friends, family, colleagues, and coworkers in the game. And I'll see you all again next week. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game, both personally and professionally.